Did you know about 92% of people have already missed or quit on their goals at this halfway point? So look, we're through 6 months of the year. It's that halftime check-in. As a coach, I always like to think about where are we and where do we need to go? Not only leading myself, but also leading team members and those that I coach. And that stat stood out to me because 92%, look, we think about successful people, and that's 8%, right? So easy math there. 8% of people are still on track or just have not quit on their goals yet. So which camp are you in? Which camp are you in? If you're honest with yourself and you look back at the last 6 months, I've been doing some of this myself, and I'm going to share with you some frameworks that have helped me not only look back, because I think it's important to look back on what we've accomplished, what we've done, where some of those patterns are in that 6 months to start the year. More importantly, we're going to look forward in a minute. But let's start the first 6 months of the year. If you think about your faith, your family, your fitness, your finances, if you were to give yourself a grade within each of those, would you be an A, maybe be a B? Could you be a C in some of those areas? If you had goals starting the year, look at where you are in relation to those right now. This is a powerful exercise we get a chance to do, and it's that honest assessment. See, most people aren't willing to do this. And while it may seem like, okay, Brian, like that's really hard on myself, I'm going to look back. And yeah, of course, there's areas I haven't met the challenge. Maybe you haven't held the standard that's there. What a great point to reset and to relook at where you are. And if only 8% are actually on track or haven't quit against those goals, look, we need to move into that 8%. And so today is going to be about all of those opportunities that exist today, and how do we capture those by looking back a little bit, giving yourself the grade in each of those core 4 areas, and then recognizing, where am I excelling? What's the area you gave yourself the best grade in? I want you to think about why. It was your faith. Was it things you did every day with your daily disciplines? I know for me, just having a verse of the day, something to slow me down in the morning, take 5 to 10 minutes, and just be grateful for where I am. This has been an anchor for me because changing companies, changing directions within what I wanted to build, how I wanted to build things, getting that alignment set, it wasn't easy. After the first quarter, having a lot of success at the previous company and saying, you know what, I'm going to start over. I'm going to start over at 0. Not many people be willing to make that commitment, that actual jump. And it's something I did. Maybe that's something you did. Maybe you went in and you said, you know what, in my finances, I'm going to start to invest more, save more, cut in my budget, get really disciplined about what's there. Could have been like many of my friends have reached out and said, Brian, my fitness. Look, the things that you've shared, you talk about where you are in your journey in relation to last spring break. I've shared that story many, many times of that was not necessarily a breaking point, but a turning point for me. See, last spring break, I looked at those pictures and I said, hey, that is not the version of Brian that I imagined going into my later years in my 40s. And I want to change something. And I got serious about it. Not just interested in what fitness was, not just interested in working out. I got committed to a new standard. And it took a good 90 days to where I saw progress about this point. And then I got here and I said, you know what? There's another level. While I had dropped about 3% body fat, I knew there was more. There was another 3% in the tank. And then I found out later there was even more. And so for you, that might be where you're at. So take a look at all of those there. Look at those faith, family, fitness, and finances categories and assess where you're at. And let's talk about how we move forward. So I'm going to talk about this. Before we move on, this has kind of been on my heart of sharing, not beating yourself up. There's been a lot of conversations lately, and I'm guilty of this at times, of just beating yourself up, and you look back and you're like, yeah, I'm not where I want to be. I wish I'd had more saved in the bank. I wish I had more of this in retirement. I wish I had more assets over here. I was making more money over there, and all these things. It could be in your health, and you're like, I wish I was here. I want you to take a moment and just celebrate the progress you've made. Because what I have found within each of these conversations is there was progress, and maybe not to the level in which you want to go. We'll talk about that in a minute because we still got 6 months left. I want you to reflect back and find the one win. What's the win that you've had in each of those areas? Write down that win. And as we move forward, I want you to think about that is, if you know you got that win, what could that win look like? What's the exponential? What's the 10x version of that? It's this book I've been reading about 10x is easier than 2x. this is going to be a principle I want us to think about and apply in this is, for each of us, could the 10x actually be easier than the 2x? And I would submit to you, it was in many areas of my life. I was playing too small and doubling the effort, doubling the result. Yeah, that took a lot of hard work. But once I cracked the code and got the systems and I got the right people around me and actually committed to this new version, and my beliefs and my mindset aligned up with what that new person, that new version of myself needed to look like, 10x looked a lot better. 10x started to happen in my fitness. 10x started to happen in my finances. 10x started to happen with my family, right? And in my faith. And so I want us to think about that principle as we move forward. If you've not read that book, it's a great one for you to go back to as you read it. So let's think about anchoring before we advance here. And I would think about each day as an opportunity for you, as a new scoreboard and a new way to win. So while, yes, we're going to play in this 90-day sprint framework, and yes, we'll have 2 of those left to finish the year, I almost want to think about that as 2 different seasons. And each day is a game. Each day is an opportunity to compete. Each day is a new opportunity for you to show up and be your best. And so if only 8% of the people are still on track for those goals, I would invite you to consider this. Write down what you want these goals to be in this next 90-day sprint framework. I want you to think about that. Yes, you want to have goals for the next 6 months, and I even love vision casting out further than that. But for many of us, it's attacking each day within this. And what we found is the psychology behind this is, if we know we get to start over each day, there's a day, whether we crushed it and we actually had the big wins, we don't get too amped up on that win and we don't sit on the victory that we had. Because the next day, we're just going to build upon it, right? And so each day is going to stack up as we go. So here, Andy Frisella talk about this, which is aggressive patience. And as we get aggressive about the pursuit of where we want to be in that 90 days, but being patient, knowing that we didn't get to where we are in a day, a week, a month. Now we're going to need to rebuild that as we go forward. And so I want you to think about that as you move. Let's reframe this a little bit. So as I started thinking about where do I want to be in 6 months from now, end of the year, little visualization trick here. What would I look like? What would I feel like? Who would be around me? The emotions I would be feeling at the end of the year because of the work that I'd put in. And I want you to put yourself in that situation and think about all that you had done to get to that point. And are you going to be resetting at the middle of the year like right now and looking at the grades that you wrote down for yourself and going, yeah, I didn't give it all here. I could have done more over here. There were some days I took off. I slacked. I didn't play all out in certain areas. Let's reframe all that. And what would it look like? How would you feel at the end of the year if you played all out? If you went all in and you 10x'd everything and you just said, you know what? For the next 6 months, I'm going to be radical about this. I'm going to get crazy. Some people are going to say I'm obsessed and weird, and that's okay. Because I remember over 3.5 years ago now, I think that's the last time I even had a sip of alcohol, anything to drink. And I think about that now and go, man, like that's just completely in the past. Now I'm thinking about how I've reframed and repositioned my brain to go, I don't really take days off anymore. I used to take days off. Oh, I need this recovery day. I need this rest day. Now that might just look like a 2-mile or 4-mile run. It might look like I go out and move some weights. I ride the assault bike. I do something. So I want you to look at where there are opportunities and that margin in your day that if you were to get very intentional and you were to focus on, these are the things that need to happen each day, and you were to absolutely dominate those throughout the day and to structure your days and your weeks in a way that were set up for success and winning, at the end of the year, you could look back and go, man, I left it all on the field. I did everything. It wasn't perfect. There were days things didn't work out. There were things that didn't go my way. I think about in our world with recruiting, there are teams that join. There's some teams that don't join. But did you give it your best in the areas that you controlled? As we start to think about that, that reframes the whole game for us. And it gets into a spot that I know for me is each day gives me a new opportunity to compete. Each week gives me a chance to reflect and plan for the future. And when we operate in these short bursts it allows us the intensity in which I believe it's going to be required over this long run to win the 90 days and to win the next 6 months. So I'm going to leave you this. Kind of a call to action. Write down that shift. The one thing in each of those areas, your faith, your family, your fitness, and your finances. The one thing you're committed to changing. Whatever that one thing is. I know for me, simply put, in my fitness was, I'm not taking any days off. Right? And then underneath that, it was, okay, I'm going to clean up my nutrition. I'm going to have this body fat goal. I'm going to have those things that are there. In my faith, it was just reading simply a Bible verse every day, slowing down for at least 5 minutes, starting my day in gratitude, and being thankful for what God has offered in the life that he's given me a chance to live. And that's got me through some tough seasons, even this year, making changes, going through Presley graduating, thinking about the next season that's there. Like that anchor is huge. Finances, getting really serious about this and planning ahead and saying, okay, we've got one in college, another going to be in college in 2 years. Where are we? What do we want to do? What are the shifts we need to make? Having someone in your corner, and I've offered this before, but we've got a strategic tax team. We've got a great CPA, people in our corner that I'm asking questions. Hey, we're here, but I want to be here. What are the moves we need to make? Great coaches, great advisors in your corner will help you accelerate and win in those areas. And then your family. You know, for us, it's looking for that vacation and that trip together once a quarter. And it looked very different this year because we're going different directions with the kids and doing all that, but making sure that the family is still connected and there's time that's there. Even last night, it was a very joyous moment as all of us were around the dinner table, and that doesn't happen every night, but we're all together and we made a home-cooked meal and we're all just sitting there talking for a little bit. Those intentional moments that are there is what your kids and what you're going to remember as a family. So as you write down that one shift in each of the areas, I want you to be able to commit to that every day and every week. And that's going to be the shift that really is the catalyst in each of those areas. Write down your 90-day sprint goal. What is it at the end of 90 days you want to have accomplished? See, Presley's finishing up 75 hard here in a couple of weeks. And I think about, 75 days, what a transformation. I can see it. I've seen my friends that are going through 75 hard right now. And I think about 90-day sprints. What's possible in 90 days is incredible. If you believe and you set your intentions and you do the actions every day. I know it to be true because it's happened in my own life. So this is our reset, guys. This is the coach coming to you, telling you it's halftime. We've looked at the film. We've looked at the tape. We've looked back at where we are. We've looked and we've graded ourselves. Now we have a chance to make adjustments and we get to prioritize and execute the game plan. By the time you get this, it's already going to be July when we release this episode. If you haven't started something like this, I invite you to jump into the party. Jump into this because in the next 90 days, you can change your life. And then you can change those around you. So I'm excited about this. If you decide to jump in on this, and this is a challenge, you want to share one of the areas in your life you're working on, you want some extra accountability, or you just want somebody to know, hey, this message landed, Brian. This is something I needed to hear. This is your halftime check-in. And I believe all great athletes, great leaders, they reset their intentions. They look at where they've been and they look at where they want to go and they make sure the adjustments are made. That's how life works. It's never perfect. Doesn't always happen on our own time. God's got his timing that we're working through and listening and being obedient there. And now we need to get radically disciplined in the areas that matter the most. These core 4 will move you forward in every area of your life. And what I have often found is one of those is going to be the driver that pulls the others along with it. Which one is that going to be for you? Which one's going to really pull you into that next version of yourself that I know you're called to be? Guys, if this has resonated with you, make sure you like, subscribe, leave us a review on the podcast. These solo episodes, we get a ton of great feedback. So I'm just bringing things that are on my heart, some notes and things that I've been jotting down, what I'm learning myself with my coaches. And so if this has impacted you, leave us a review. Share it with a friend, put it up on social. It's been incredible to see how these have taken root and really been kind of that power punch and that combination to help people move forward in their own life. So if that's helped you and that's been you, drop us a review, share it with a friend, and make sure you tune in to the next episode. See you.